What's up, carnivores? Zach here with American Smoke, and today we're talking about the top 10 mistakes that new pellet grill smoker owners make. If you have just got a pellet grill, or if you are just planning to get a pellet grill, or if you know somebody that is screwing up some food on a pellet grill, this is the video for you. Or it might be the video that you need to share with your friend who keeps inviting you over to eat their nasty barbecue, and you keep having to lie to them like, man, this is good, you should start a restaurant. And you know that you're lying because them ribs is tough and that Boston butt is nasty. Stick around. We're gonna start with number 10. We're gonna work our way all the way down to the numero uno mistake that people make. I was a poet, I didn't know it. My God, I make a rhyme every time. Number 10, new pellet grill owners do not clean out their ashtray at every cook. You need to take this, whether you've got the Pro Series or whether it's stuck. It's stuck. It's stuck. I need pliers. So, I was able to break it loose. It's very important that you do this. You just loosen that up, you pull that out. Now this is after one cook. This is after one cook. You see that thing? See how it's all filled up in there? So right here, this circle right here, this is where the pellets come in. This little one at the bottom right here, right there, this is where my element comes in. And they drop down on top of that heating element. It keeps them burning. The fan blows air into the pot through these holes on the sides, and it feeds air and produces heat, which cooks your food. If you do not clean this out after every cook, it will cause you serious problems. For me, I don't worry about it too much. I just dump it in my flower bed. You know, the flowers like ash, right? I think. Mistake number 9 is you have to open the door before you turn it on and get it cooking. Just Google pellet smoker explosion. That's not gonna happen every time that you start your smoker up if you don't open the door, but it is possible. You're gonna have a ton of vapor build up inside of this pit. You know, if you've ever had a campfire and you pile a bunch of brush on top of it, like leaves and grass and whatnot, and it just sits there and smolders and smolders and smolders, and you can see all the smoke, but where's the fire? And then all of a sudden, bam, it catches on fire, right? We've all seen that before. Well, I said we've all seen it. I've seen it, I assume you've seen it. But that's how it happens, because eventually it reaches a certain heat and it's able to ignite. And that's what happens inside these chambers, is that the pellets get hot and they produce smoke, produce smoke, produce smoke. The whole chamber gets filled up with that vapor, and then all of a sudden there's an ignition and it will just whoo. Look it up if you don't believe me, just look it up. And I have seen people that have done that, and it has broken the glass out of the front of their smoker. So mistake number 9 is not opening the door. Whether you've got a vertical pellet smoker like this one here, or you've got a barrel type, open the lid, open the door, turn it on. You're gonna hear the fan kick on, you're gonna hear the auger, and after a few minutes, maybe up to 5 to 10 minutes, you're gonna start to see smoke bellow out. And when you see that smoke, that's when it's safe to shut the door and let it come up to temp, but not before that. Mistake number 8, not using foil. Not using a foil pan and not wrapping up in foil. So you need to be using foil pans, you need to be wrapping your drip tray in foil, and you need to be wrapping your water pan in foil. Why? Because cleaning it is a pain in the butt, man. You see how dirty that is? That is just from random things dropping down, from smoke building up in my water, and it settles down as it dehydrates and builds up. And if this foil wasn't here, it would be built up on the bottom of my water pan. And if you've done this, got your foil on there, then it's just as easy as that right there. You just wad that up, you take it and you throw that into the garbage, and you're good to go. This is the worst right here. I want you to take a look at this. This is how dirty this gets with this nastiness right here being up underneath the food. My last 2 cooks, I have used this pan, and all the drippings have went into there, and even with that being there, this much has gotten built up on this foil. And in order for me to clean this thing, all I gotta do is take the foil off. So easy, such a beginner mistake not to use the foil. I didn't used to use the foil, and now that I'm old and I'm wise, use foil. It's very important. I put water in my Pit Boss water pan, and I put water in my foil pan, and it keeps the moisture level in my chamber high, and all the hot water also helps to help maintain a more regular heat, because the water heats up and it stays that temperature, and it don't matter if air is moving around or not. That water is radiating that warmth and helping to maintain a more regular chamber temp. Numero 70. I don't think that's a real word, but we're doing numero 70, and that is the thermostat. There's a little teeny tiny itty bitty little thing in the back there. You can see mine is shiny because I am not a new pellet smoker owner. I have suffered the pains of not keeping that thing clean. Clean your thermostat every single cook. Look, get you some of these, or a wet paper towel, or a sponge, or whatever. I recommend these because you can throw them away. You take one out, you reach in there, you give it a little rub down, it's clean, and it gets much more precise readings than if you did not. If you want to be a pro, clean your thermostat. Mistake number 6, you have to know that it's a mistake, and you have to know that if you're not doing it, it's not good, which is something I know. And that is not cleaning your pit on a regular basis. Now, I'm not saying you have to clean this thing every cook, but maybe every 5th cook. The glass is more of a luxury. I like being able to see in my pit, so I try to clean it on a regular basis. You have a grease trough in the back where your drip tray is. You've got your water pan, and all of those things are going to accumulate not just soot and ash, but they're also going to accumulate fat, because you cook a lot of fatty things, and the whole point of smoking food is to break down fat. And so you get that all in your smoker. What is fat? Fat is flammable. If you do not clean your pit on a regular basis, you run a high risk of a chamber fire. And if you get a chamber fire when you've got a $200 brisket in there, because that's what you have to pay for them half the time. Let's not say 200, let's just say you got a brisket. I don't know how much y'all pay for y'all's brisket. That was a joke on how the high prices of meat are tearing America apart. Maybe not America, I don't know. Maybe you're from Australia. I got a lot of people that watch me in Australia. Thank y'all so much for watching me over there on the other side of the pond. I love every one of y'all. Back on topic here, clean your pit. You don't want a chamber fire. That leads us to mistake number 5, panicking when you have a chamber fire. If you see fire in your chamber because lo and behold, you didn't feel like cleaning it for 7 to 10 cooks in a row. You just put it off because you hadn't seen this video. You don't like to clean. You're just a procrastinator just like all of us. And you didn't get it clean. Now you've got a fire in there and you don't know what to do, and you panic and you open it up and oxygen feeds it. Now you've got a raging inferno. If you're a beginner, you've never had this happen before, or maybe you've had it happen, you didn't know what to do, the best thing to do, leave the door shut, lay a towel over the top of your stack, disconnect the power. This whole thing's made out of metal, so it doesn't really matter if there's a fire in there, as long as you don't open it up and let the fire out. Now, I don't know how much grease you might let build up in your chamber. There could be some terrible fire. But most of the time, you turn off the power, you shut off the oxygen, leave the door shut, the fire's gonna go out. You're just gonna have to wait it out. If you need more instruction on what to do, I've got a video for that you can check out on my channel. I'll leave a link to that in the description down below, or either at the end of this video. Check both. Mistake numero 4. For those of you in the English-speaking world, that means number 4. Mistake number 4 is not checking your pellets. You always need to know, do I have pellets in my chamber? You can see that I have a plentiful amount of Pit Boss Competition Blend pellets. When we're looking at the pellets, what you want to look for is a nice shine. Do you see the shine on those pellets? If you don't see the shine, that means that moisture has gotten to the pellets. So mistake number 4 is not checking your pellets. 1, you got to make sure that you've got plenty in there, because if you run out, it's going to ruin your cook. Guaranteed. Never assume you've got enough pellets. Open the hatch. Don't be lazy. Open the hatch, look in there, and see if you got some pellets. If you don't want to look in there, there's a daggum window on the side of mine. Just look at the window, see if you can see some. Usually if you can see some, that means you've got enough for at least a 4 or 5 hour cook. If it's just the very bottom. Keep your pellets dry, keep your pellets filled up, and you'll avoid mistake number 4. Mistake number 3 that really you learn more with experience, but you can get that experience and that understanding by listening to someone run their mouth like me, Zach, with American Smoke. I'll teach you everything you need to know. Just make sure to hit that notification bell, smash the like button, and subscribe to my channel. That way, you don't have to learn all this the hard way, the way that I did. Mistake number 3 is not understanding how the heat is distributed through your chamber. Your heat comes from the burn pot, and it comes up through chambers in the side and back walls. And so you've got little vents periodically along the sides and across the back. And that's going to be where the majority of your heat comes from. What that should tell you, since you don't have vents across the front, is that you're not going to have as much heat here, and you're not going to have as much heat in the middle. And you need to be aware of this, because if you're cooking wings, or if you're cooking something smaller, if you've got a whole lot of chicken laid out, legs and thighs and breasts, or whatever you're trying to cook, spread out all over these shelves, the stuff along the sides and the back is going to cook faster. That means that periodically you need to pull this thing out, rotate it, or pull it out, move your chicken around, rearrange things a little bit, or whatever it is that you're trying to cook. For me, if I'm cooking a brisket or a Boston butt or something, I try to periodically pull it out and just turn it 180 degrees so that the side that was facing the front, where the least amount of heat is facing the back. That's a big mistake. Understand your heat distribution. The number 2 mistake, and this was a real sort of a challenge for me to make it number 2 and not number 1, because it's so important. It's so important. And that is not cooking to temp. New barbecue cookers, new pellet smoker owners, new smoker owners, you have to cook to temp. People will tell you, oh, well, you're gonna cook a Boston butt? How long are you gonna cook it? Well, I asked my Uncle Jim Bob, and he said that you need to cook it for about 6.5 hours. So you cook it for 6.5 hours, and you put your little meat claws in there, and let me pull the bone out. That's because you did not cook to temp. Do your due diligence. Watch my channel. Look up the videos. I've got a lot of content on how to cook different things, different ways to cook different things, but it's always to temp. Collagen and fat does not break down until it reaches certain temperatures, and those connective tissues do not allow food to be tender and juicy if they are still intact. You have to get it to a certain temperature for it to disintegrate. Just like if you want to light a candle, you can't heat it up to 95 degrees. It's not going to light. You've got to get it nice and hot, and then eventually it will have a chemical reaction and it will ignite. But if you don't get it to the right temp, you're not going to have a candle, you're not going to have a light. That's probably confusing, but you get what I'm saying. If you don't cook your barbecue to temperature, you're not going to get it right. I see it happen all the time. People asking me all the time, it was in there for almost 9 hours. I don't understand. Cook to temp. Quick Google search most of the time. What is the best internal temperature to cook a brisket to? What is the best internal temperature to cook a Boston butt to? So on and so forth. And for smaller cuts, there's other tests you can do, but temperature is always the defining factor of whether or not meat is done and ready to be enjoyed, because it's awesome. It can be eaten. Lions eat their meat raw. Maybe you just want to do that. Here at American Smoke, we like our meat to be juicy, delicious, succulent, and tender. And that is how you will eat yours if you cook to temp. Don't make the number 2 mistake and not cook to temp. Let's get on to the number 1 mistake. And I just kind of mentioned it. This is the number 1. And I'm going to start off with a saying here. A failure to plan is a plan for failure. And that is true in barbecue as it is in any other facet of life. You have to have a plan. You have to understand what you're cooking, what temperature you want to cook at, what temperature that food has to reach for you to reach the next part of the cook. Whether it's time to wrap a meat, or whether it's time to spritz a meat, or whether it's time to whatever. If you don't know what the internal temperature of a Boston butt has to be for it to be easily shreddable, if you don't know what the internal temperature of ribs need to be so that they're bite through with a little bit of tug, as opposed to the meat just falls off the bone and it's a little bit dry and you got to put a ton of sauce on it, there's a big difference there. You have to have a plan to get it there. You have to have a plan to know when you're going to pull it. Do you plan to wrap? Do you plan to unwrap? Do you plan to sauce? Do you plan to set the sauce? You got to know all that sort of stuff. Have a plan. Do your due diligence. Know what you're getting into. Don't just buy a big expensive piece of meat and just hope for the best, because it's not going to be the best. It's going to be disappointing, and next thing you know, this thing's going to be sitting outside for 6 months. You're not going to have used it because you just assume it's a piece of junk because you didn't make a plan. That's the number 1 mistake people make, is not having a plan. You think I didn't make that mistake? I promise you. I promise you I made that mistake. If I'm good at one thing, it's thinking I know stuff. I think I know things. And eventually I have to learn that I didn't quite know it in order so that I can know it. Eventually. Have a plan. Know what you're doing. Watch my videos. Learn from them. Watch other people's videos. Learn from those. Come up with your own plan. Develop your own techniques. Figure out what you like. You might like textures that other people don't like. You might like flavors that other people don't like. Just cook. Develop experience. Learn from others. Have a plan. Execute the plan. Avoid these 10 mistakes. Rewatch this video 3 times. Send this video to someone that you know needs to watch it. They'll be happy to know that you care about the quality of their food. And they're probably gonna say, "What? You told me you liked my Boston butt. You told me you liked my port loin." I did. I liked it. I liked it. It was good. But I think maybe maybe you need to know what you're doing. Anyway, I hope y'all have enjoyed this video on the top 10 mistakes that new smoker owners make. If you did, make sure to smash that like button for me. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. If you enjoyed this content, I've got a ton more in the past, ton more in the future. We're here now. Hope y'all are having a good day. Thank you so much for watching. If you do subscribe, tap that notification bell. That way you know every time I drop a video. We will see y'all in the next video.